What's up guys, we got another driving test leaving from Birmingham Garretts Green. This one was leaving on a Sunday in the afternoon, one of the busier time slots. One thing to note in this test centre, if you are going at a weekend, the gate will probably be locked and there'll be the guard at the entrance to the gate. They'll be able to have a list of people who have tests for that day and he will let you in. If you go past and notice the gate is shut, do not be alarmed. They've been asked to pull up on the left and they do it safely. You will notice there's a judder in the car in a moment. This is due to the fact that they tried moving off in second gear. As soon as they stalled, they did recover it safely and moved off straight after, but they did still get a minor fault for this. As they enter the roundabout, they do have a really good starting position. They're nice and close to the inside. As they start to go around the roundabout, their positioning did start to veer off slightly to the left. There was no one to the side and they didn't impact anyone, but they did pick up one minor fault here. I'll be honest, they did get a little bit lucky there. Quite often at the roundabout, people want to go straight ahead to the left-hand side. If that had been the case, then it would have been a serious fault. This bit here was quite extremely tight, but they handled it well. They had good mirror observations as they went straight ahead. It's hard to tell the speed, but they were going roughly about 12 to 14 miles per hour then. The tighter the space, the slower the speed. You'll notice they came to a complete stop here. There was no need to do that, there was plenty of space to move out. Picked up one minor fault for hesitation. As they enter the new road, they should be building up their speed to match the limit of the road. As you can see, it's quite clear, they have no reason to be going drastically under. They're doing about 22-23 miles per hour at the moment. The learner vehicle behind is giving them a really good safe distance, even with how slow they're going. It's at this stretch here they start to build things up and get to the appropriate limit. They did pick up the one driving fault on this stretch though for appropriate speed. They've been asked to pull up on the left, which is a very popular spot to do so. They have been told don't worry about driveways on this occasion. Now the camera doesn't show it nor does the audio, but apparently at this stretch here they scraped all along the curb as they pulled up. The tyres didn't mount the pavement at all, it was just scraping it, so they did only get one minor fault here. Now a lot of people think that if you touch the curb you're immediately going to fail. It all depends on quite a few things. Was there anyone around at that time? Did it make the car change direction? Did the tyres mount onto the pavement? In this case, none of that happened. It was just the tyre scraped along the curb. So it won't affect your driving test. It will just make your instructor cry a little bit for their alloys. They've been asked to pull up on the left. It's going to be for their angled start. Now this little bit of the clip will show you that you can see anything on your driving test. My student's holding back, it looks like hesitation, but look at the vehicle that's coming towards them. I don't have any words. They gave them plenty of space from either side, even though the camera makes it look like they got a bit close. They didn't pick up any faults there. Now at first glance this looks like hesitation, but because there's a vehicle parked to the left it would have restricted their space, so they did the correct thing and held back. You'll notice as they go around this turn, the car in the rearview mirror catches up with them really quickly. They put their signals on a little bit too late, so the car behind would probably be a bit confused at why they were going so slow. And as they entered the turn here, they tried to put the car into third gear, but it ended up going into first, which made a drastic slowdown. So they got two faults here, use of signals timed and gears. And then as they're following this road around, even though they're speed bumps, they were going really quite slow. At certain points it dropped down to about 14 miles per hour. And you'll notice the cars behind, they are following quite close because of how slow the vehicle's going. Please remember the footage is sped up. One thing to remember is they've now got two faults for use of speed. If they pick up 3 more faults for that, then that would then turn into a serious fault. So they pick a good appropriate gap at the roundabout and they didn't hesitate. As they're going around the roundabout, they don't pick up the speed enough or change gear as they're going around. This meant that they were going far too slow and you could see the cars behind catching up very quickly. On approach, look at the road markings. The left-hand lane is for left only. Don't be the driver to the left. It would just be a quick fire way to instantly fail your driving test. Down this stretch, because of the hill, we have the opposite problem, which is they're now going too fast. They went roughly about 32 miles per hour here, so they did pick up one minor fault for their speed. They're now in quite risky grounds because of the amount of minors they've got for use of speed. If they pick up any more, they can fail their test. Now they've been asked at the roundabout to go right. You'll notice they were in the wrong lane and they took the wrong direction. However, they did the safest thing, which is if you find yourself in the wrong lane, sometimes it's best just to go the wrong way. They noticed this road was 50 and they picked it up to a really good appropriate speed. So remember, if you go the wrong way, it's not the end of the world. The examiner will reroute you. Just do everything safely. Going around the roundabout this time, they had some really beautiful positioning. They didn't cross over the lines once, all the signals were perfectly timed. It was perfect. When coming around this roundabout, the last exit that you're taking, you must signal off. They didn't do this. It's only mini roundabouts where you don't need to signal off at. Think about it this way, it could benefit someone, so it's worth doing it. At the roundabout they've been asked to go right. This is normally just for one thing, the manoeuvre. When pulling into this car park, I always recommend first gear. It's normally quite busy, there's people coming back and forth, and there's always kids excited for swimming. They've been asked to do the reverse bay park manoeuvre. So I'm not going to lie, this probably wasn't the best park they've ever done. It's quite ropey, the control wasn't quite there. The observations were safe, but they weren't that effective. They do also require to do one adjustment due to being on the lines. You'll notice they go in at quite a strange angle and then readjust it quite drastically. Now each time they are doing round effective observations, but at points it does drop. Mainly at the point where you're starting to look at the lines to see if you're in, that's when most people start to get a bit lax on them and they neglect them. Keep the observations going at all points. If you need to use the mirrors to see if you're in, think about stopping the car for a second, having a look at the mirrors and then carrying on. Now they do eventually get it in without touching the lines, but they did pick up one minor fault here. When emerging out from this junction, please be careful. It is like a T-junction, you can't just floor it out and hope it'll be empty. Make sure it's safe before you emerge. Now down this stretch the engine is screaming a little bit. The revs are at about 4000 RPM, which is quite high. They didn't build it up to third gear quick enough. A lot of people think this fault is for eco driving. No, that's not a thing yet. If the revs are at 4000 and above, it could be damaging to the engine, so you can be marked down if your revs are too high. I know the cars behind seem quite close, but they are doing the speed limit here. Now this is a tough one. There are 2 lanes here and the lane that they're in is currently blocked. They should be checking their centre mirror, right mirror, signalling across as there are 2 lanes. They didn't use any signals and it would be counted as a lane change there. This is where I get stressed watching this. They're so close to the end of the test. They're on 13 driving faults. They are near the finish line. Now, coming up at the lights, there are people waiting to cross. You'll notice they come to a very quick stop, which is what they needed to do. But when there's this change of speed, slowing down or speeding up, you should be checking your mirrors. At that point, they were just staring at the roundabout. They didn't do any mirror observations whatsoever. At the roundabout, you'll notice they're very hesitant at moving off. There was a good few opportunities, but they're just not going. Eventually, they do move off, but they do pick up a fault there for hesitation. Now, this is just far too close for my liking. As they're coming down this road, they handle everything perfectly. Now, at the end of the day, a pass is a pass. So yes, there was 15 minors, but it's still enough to get the pink license. And remember, the test is very hard and the conditions could be very off-putting for some people. You could get 15 minors on your test and be a fantastic driver.